Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you can hear me okay. It's funny to see the chat on the bottom in the essentials room saying thank you, TG. I'm actually slacking with them right now, small ideas. So it's sort of cool. We usually look at the same stocks. So just to let you know, this is only a half hour. I'm doing it with YouTube Live as well. And all I'm doing in here is I want to show it just seems like not are looking at a lot of election trades. So I just want to show you. So this from New York Times. Do not think it's the radical left. This is a aggregation of 460 polls. So, it just happens to be in the New York Times. But just to let you know, like I said, an aggregation. When you saw this narrow, so you saw it go to here, the stocks that would benefit from Trump or get hurt with Trump went the way you'd think they would. It was amazing. And I'll go over those right now. So the first thing you should know, anything I show you is not my political views. This is the way the traders appear to be interpreting them. Not me. It's how they're interpreting them. So just keep that in the back of your mind. But heck, if the traders are interpreting it that way, we should jump on the same way. So I'll show you what we're talking about. So number one, you have this. Let me just show you. So pretty interesting in here. Let me go to this. All right. So, excuse me. You're going to see this with this pole narrowing. So that pole narrowing. So I just want to show you a couple of interesting things in here. The first one is, what are traders interpreting? They're interpreting that biotechs are going to be discouraged, or let's say drugs with Trump. Now, like I said, that doesn't mean I think that. It's just what other people think. So if they think that, well, that's one reason the biotechs have underperformed. China, tariffs, they've underperformed. First Solar, underperformed. Bonds underperforming. Why? Because people think that, that Trump's going to add more to the deficit than Harris. Like I said, that is not my opinion one way or the other. I'm going on how traders are reacting. That's all I'm doing. So I'll show you something pretty interesting. So we're going to go into here, and I'm going to go and show you two different charts here. And I want to show you on the left. I want to show you the First Solar, which is up now, but it wasn't. And on the right, the T-Bomb futures. And what I'm going to do in here, remember the theory is that, Trump's going to add more to the deficits. Like I said, you can argue it all you want. That's fine. I'm just saying that's how traders are interpreting it. So guess what? Right here. What was that day? That was the day after it was perceived that Harris won the debate. Like I said, perceived. Traders perceived it. So what happened to bonds that day? That's September 10th. September 10th / September 11th. You'll see the bonds went straight down. It took a couple of days, but they went straight down. So these have correlated pretty darn well. So, bonds went up because Harris, it was perceived Harris won. So the bonds had that spike. Now, when Vance perceived to win the debate, First Solar went straight down from here. Right in that October 10th. I don't have the exact day. And when did the bonds go down? The same exact time. Same exact time. So it's just interesting to watch that. Now we got something different. So now this is one thing. We can also put up here 3 charts. So we're going to go over here. Let me go and change this. So apply to all. There we go. Over here, we're going to put Baidu. Now, just to let you know, we kicked butt in Baidu because we waited. We did not buy on the stimulus thing. We bought when it hit support. On the way down, I don't care what anybody else says. Animal spirits, what works the best? Prior support, price. So that's where it stopped. But I'll show you something really interesting that just started today. Is First Solar went up. Bonds just had a rally. Baidu went up. I don't think that's a coincidence. Maybe this has to do with the Madison Square Garden thing. I'm just telling you, this is how traders are perceiving this thing. It's amazing, amazing on how they've correlated. So, I mean, really amazing. So when this had this sell-off, I'll put it on a 4-hour chart. Guess what? Exactly the same as T-bonds and First Solar. That's amazing. Look at that. Tariffs, deficits, anti-solar or pro-oil. So just amazing on how that worked. So, you know, and you can trade on that. So if you see the polls tighten, you fade First Solar. If you see them widen, you buy First Solar. That's what's been working. So just to let you know, we only care about making money trading, not the opinions, not the politics. We care about if the politics affect the stocks. And that's all we're doing. So just keep that in mind. Now, this is where it gets interesting, real interesting. Take this out right here. So we're going to go only to 2 charts. And so you see what the bonds have done. Now, I've talked about the bonds in the stock market are wildly diverging. Wildly diverging. So you got the S&P near all-time highs. You have the bond market getting smacked. So just keep in mind, 50-50 funds that rebalance the end of every month. Not the S&P. They rebalance the third Friday of the quarter. Triple witching. That's different. They do it at the last minute. This 50-50 funds. If the stock market, the equities are near new highs and the bonds are near new lows since October 1st, then they're long way too many stocks relative to bonds. So this can start seeing a sell-off here and a rally here. You haven't seen a sell-off here. So we actually took profits this morning in some shorts. So we actually bought bonds. So just keep that in mind. But the whole reason I'm showing this, a lot of people are saying that the bonds are going down because Trump's gaining in the polls and the stock market's going up because Trump is more pro-business. Like I said, this is not my opinion. It's a trader's opinion. I just got to make that real clear. So I don't want to get canceled here. So what am I seeing now, though? Well, I'm looking at it this way. If First Solar's going up and the bonds have just had a nice rally in the last 2 hours and the First Solar's going up and the Baidus are holding up, well, you wonder if the stock market's going to start selling off. Maybe the polls are widening again. Not that I've seen, but I'm just saying theoretically. So I would watch this carefully about if you're going to go and do that. Now, bonds rallying, Baidu rallying, First Solar rallying. Has XBI rallied, the biotech ETF? It sure has. As you see, it rallied. Now, not a lot, don't get me wrong, but it has rallied from the bottom. What do you notice? 1 o'clock today. 1 o'clock today. It's not a coincidence. If that's true, then you got to think the ES sells off by the end of the day. People getting a little spooked. So just keep that in mind in there. So you could go through a million other things. How about the regional banks? So supposedly, you know, Trump will lower regulations. It's doing nothing. Doing nothing. It did do something with the debate stuff. So just to let you know, but you're not seeing it here. How about defense stocks? No, they're going down because of that not as strong a response by Israel. So how about, but the biggest ones I see are bonds, the biotech index, the Chinese stocks, and the solars. So it's amazing on how that works. In fact, let's just say that Trump wins. I'm not saying he is. Like I said, everybody's so sensitive about this, understandably. So I'm not saying one way or the other. But if Trump wins, let's just say he wins, everybody thinks solar's going to get destroyed. On the other hand, he's into tariffs. Well, First Solar is more U.S. domestic. So I got to tell you, I wish it didn't have earnings this week. And I'd be looking at doing a First Solar of something above the market, figuring it's going to go up no matter what. The problem is the other solar stocks, what is it, ENPH, has gotten destroyed on earnings. So it's a tough call. Theoretically, if First Solar opens down on earnings, I'm going to look to do a spread over the market, figuring that it'll be a non-event. They're overreacting with Trump. They're just overreacting. That's the theory. So just keep that in mind. That's the theory, let's say. And I'm not saying it's right or not, but that's what traders are keen off of. Like I said, Chart Patterns Master, if you tuned in, do not write off that ES going back to unchanged today. So flattening before Google and AMD, bond market still underperforming relative, Russell underperforming relative, and traders might get spooked. Well, one is traders a lot of times flatten before the big earnings, but the other is, yeah, you see these going up, you get a little spooked about that Trump trade, about buying equities, which would go with the thing about 50-50 funds have to start selling. Now, the thing is that you might be saying is, why aren't you talking about on October 31st? Why not October 31st? Why now? Because the S&P rebalances at the very end of the quarter. So they do it at the end, September 30th. That's when they rebalance indexes with capitalization, all this stuff. But funds don't have to do on the last day of the month. They can try to tape race other people. So that can start the 29th, 30th, 31st. Now, what's going to be scary is you might say, well, then you buy bonds. Well, you got to be nervous because you have the unemployment report on Friday. So it's possible maybe they wait till November 1st. They don't have to do it the exact day of the month, but they're overloaded at the moment with stocks. So just keep that in mind. They're overloaded. Now, bonds a lot of times don't rally the same because there's so many maturities of bonds and it's a gigantic market. So just keep in mind, here's another graphic that we've had a lot, and I'm happy to share it. We've had this graphic a lot. I can't share it in the YouTube live. I can share it in here. And Jack, thanks for all the positive reinforcement you have been giving me on all of this, about all these trades. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Now, I'm hoping this uploads, but basically, there. Hedge funds are long those stocks. That's their biggest holdings. So if I go over here, let's see if I have it for you. So at least you can see it in the YouTube live. All the ones you know and love, the Microsofts, the Amazon, the Apple, the Google. Most of these aren't going to get dumped until their earnings, if they get dumped at all. Number two, you see all over Twitter saying, oh, hedge funds are going to buy these at the end of the month to show them on their books. Just keep in mind that they can lighten up and still have them on their books. Just keep that in mind. They can lighten up and still have them on their books. So they don't have to go up the end of the month whatsoever. But you're seeing the stocks that have already had earnings, or they have earnings, let's say 3 weeks from now, are the ones underperforming today. So Did this look like a bull flag? Yeah, if you watch a free video last night, you saw me talk about I'm using JP Morgan as a tell. Darn right, that looked like a bull flag, and it failed miserably. That's because funds have to sell it. NVIDIA, NASDAQ up 160, stocks unchanged. Hedge funds are going to probably get out of it. That's why the ES, I wouldn't be surprised to see it sell off the last hour. So just keep that in mind in here. The stocks that don't have earnings this week, that have earnings, let's say 3 weeks from now, or already had earnings, they're probably already seen some of their stock getting dumped. And that's why you're seeing these stocks underperform like this. So that's very interesting. And like I said, you might say, well, what does the ES right now have to do with the election stuff? Because if you're watching the bonds go up, then you get a little nervous about, is the stock market going to stay up? Right now, it seems like the stock market is really factoring in a Trump victory. So the bonds factoring in a Trump victory, but all of a sudden it's changed in the last 2 hours. And that would go with my 50-50 fund stuff. Now, let me just tell you, a lot of people also get this wrong. Number one, bond market has different maturities. Plus, you could buy preferred stocks. There's all kinds of ways to capitalize on yield. It's more the stock market. Number two, and a lot of people get this wrong, that's the beginning of the month in the Treasury bonds. This is the beginning of the month in the S&P. It's only when it's a wild disparity does this end of the month thing matter. Only when it's a wild disparity. This is a gigantic disparity. Gigantic. So I'm just telling you, there's a time and a place to play this. So just keep that in mind. I'm looking right here. So you had April. Yeah, April 1st, the bond market got torched the whole month. April 1st. What did the stock market do April 1st? It went down. Yeah, so that was a push. That's what I'm telling you. It wasn't out of whack. It's out of whack now. So, and that doesn't mean it's going down, but it is something to watch for today, tomorrow, and Thursday, even with earnings coming out. So, just keep that in mind. In fact, J&J already had earnings. How's it acting? Pretty bad. It's one of the highest concentrated stocks in hedge funds. MasterCard hasn't come out with earnings yet. How about Lilly? Earnings coming out. Yeah, so they haven't come out. I'm telling you, the ones, and I'm telling you, I'm very interested in Costco, even though it never goes down. And I'm going there after the close. Believe it or not. Now, you might say, well, that's just superstition that it goes up when you go to Costco. It's been in a big bull market, so it's pretty, that's not that hard to figure out. But this is really concentrated in hedge funds. So just keep that in mind. 482 funds own Costco. So just, just keep that in mind. But that's what I'm watching at the end of the day. Definitely watching that. And I can't stress enough that everything I'm talking about in here is theoretically other people watching it. A self-fulfilling prophecy. Not me saying, oh, I don't like, so-and-so or so-and-so. I'm going to go do so-and-so. No, I'm talking about how traders are reacting to it. That's all. So Chart Patterns Master, I'm still long TLT. Yeah, I bet you thought I was an idiot about an hour ago when I was in the MRI. So, I'm glad I was hiding. But so we're still in TLT. So where could TLT go? Well, over 92, it goes to 92 and a half, it looks like. So we'll see what happens there. So just keep that in mind in there about these things. Now, you might go and say, are there other areas that would benefit, or not benefit. So from anything with a Trump trade. Well, the first thing is might as well go to that. Go and put this in both rooms. At least you have an idea where I'm coming from with this. And keep in mind, I'm constantly doing research to see if there are other correlations. So please understand that. So if I find a new stock, I'll look. So let's see here. I go through these all the time. Just go through them. So here you go. It's positively bullish on stocks, negatively on bonds. Yeah, well, you heard that from me. Now, let me just tell you something about this. I always change my correlations around if things change. So as you see, a Trump win is seen to be good at cyclical, not defensive stable. But I want to show you what I mean by correlations. So you've had the Dow Jones Commodity Index go straight down. It was a great tell before all the politic garbage that if this went up, the bond market went down. Well, now it's gotten killed. This is commodities. Bonds don't like inflation. But this has gone down and so have bonds. And that's because people are worried now about the deficit, not short-term inflation. So just keep that in mind, that conditions change all the time. And right now it's all about politics. So it did work before. Now it's all about politics. Now, if the polls all of a sudden do this and go Harris, Trump, yeah, you probably see the bond market have a massive rally. So now we're showing, I want to show First Solar. I'll take it with Trading View. So we're going to take the First Solar. And I showed you what happened with the debate. So how about Caterpillar? What did Caterpillar do? Well, it went straight up with the debate. And then with Harris, I don't see it. A lot of this was hurricane related, so I don't count that. So how about some other ones? 3M. What has that done? Well, let's see. When Harris, like I said, perceived to win September 11th, nothing. Didn't do anything. I'm telling you, I really, really tried to find these for you. Energy didn't do anything. When Harris was perceived to win, it didn't matter. Just telling you, they just aren't correlating like you think. The biggest to me have been the solars, the biotechs, the bonds, and China. That has been by far the best. Now, I'll tell you right now, you would think that lack of regulation would make international paper go up. It hasn't done anything. So I'm just telling you another way to do this. And this is another way. So let's say the polls have tightened. Let's say they tightened ever since Vance was perceived to win the debate. So let's say October 4th. I don't remember the exact date. I thought it was October 2nd. Well, there's another way to do this. Go into FinViz, my trusty FinViz. It's free. I haven't even logged in. Go into Screener. Go into average volume, let's say over 750,000. Industry X funds. All right. And we could say country USA, but let's just, I want you to stick with me and see why I'm doing this. I'm looking for what stocks since that debate, since the polls have narrowed, have outperformed everything else. So you go into performance month. How about up 20%. 168 stocks. So let's take also price. I'm going to be a price snot. We're going to take it over 30. 21 stocks. So let's see if any of them make sense from that kind of thing. Well, there's MicroStrategy. Trump said he's and Coinbase said he's really into Bitcoin. So look what's up the most this month. Pretty cool. Brokerage is up, lack of regulation. Reddit up because everybody's talking about the election. Airlines up. Yeah, probably lack of regulation. So Trump media, that's another one you can use as a tell, but it has detached the last 2 days. There. Trump media, you don't think that's had something to do with the polls? October 2nd, right here, right there, when Vance was perceived to win the debate, the stock is tripled. That's not a coincidence. The first day I've seen it detach is today, the last 2 days, when I'm seeing the bonds start to rally, China start to rally, but this keeps going up. But I would watch that carefully. If you see this out of nowhere here, you got to think that's going to affect the stock market. So I'm just telling you, use DJT also. So let's look at some of the other ones. You got consumer cyclical. Well, you could put just cyclical. Let's see. Now, you only have Brecher. Let's see what else. A lot of technology. Not a lot of healthcare, do you? 3. That's it. 3. So financial has 4. Technology has a ton. Tariffs might help. So it's just very interesting to see this interplay between all of these. So I hope you find that fascinating. And like I said, you don't have to believe me on any of this. You don't have to believe me. But I would use that poll I showed you. Let me go back to it. Like I said, poll tracker. And like I said, it's an aggregator. It just happens to be on this website. Now, keep in mind the way polls work, at least of what I've seen. The way polls work to me is the margin error is gigantic. Gigantic. But I would start to watch these slopes. And they haven't changed in a week. They haven't changed. They just haven't changed. So, in fact, just nothing. So I'm telling you, this updates every day. So you can go into down here. I don't use this as much, but you could go into here and put all national polls. See those? It's still within the margin of error. All right. I'm not saying that's right or not. I'm watching the aggregation, and watching the aggregation is exactly the same. Now, if this out of nowhere goes to like 50 and 46, yeah, you're going to see the stock market sell off. So, I mean, that's the way it looks to me. So that's where I am. Not now. I'm just saying watch it. I'm not betting on the stock market going down because of any affiliation or whatever. In fact, we're mainly looking at charts, but it doesn't hurt to have charts, companion stocks like all the solars, and those polls in your hip pocket. The more tools in your toolbox, the better. I like that 3 reasons to do something. So the more reasons, great. So just want to show you that. Hope you enjoyed that, and take care. And Essentials Room, if you happen to be in the Central Room or the Chart Patterns Mastery, I'll be dual